I think there's a lot of counseling in what we're doing right now. We're doing a lot of listening, active listening, and then we're going and doing a lot of advocacy work and talking about what we're hearing, and then we convert to very happy people and do events. It's very emotionally, it's emotional work right now.
Leo here, your host of the Building Bellingham podcast, and thanks for stopping by the studio. Pour a glass of whiskey or local beer, take a sip, kick those feet up. We're going to dive into what it means to be a business owner, what it means to be a member of this Bellingham and Whatcom County community, and what it means to find peace and balance while running a badass, high-octane, local, iconic business. Let's jump in. And this is the season finale of season 4 of Building Bellingham. And we've got 2 very special guests here. The Downtown Bellingham Partnership. We've got Alice Clark and Lindsey Payne Johnstone. And what is the Downtown Bellingham Partnership?
Oh boy. It's a big thing to tackle. We are the downtown association that calls the district our home. We support all the businesses down there in the district, from events that actually and promotions that bring people into the downtown core to enjoy the district, shop, eat, go out. And we also do behind the scenes work as well. So what you might see is the events. You might see our cleaning. We have a clean team and landscaping. We do a lot of place activation, murals. So that's the stuff you're going to see. But behind the scenes, we are really doing a lot of business support, and over the last few years, more than ever before, actually, with the pandemic.
Shows. Yeah.
A lot of advocacy work as well, just talking to leaders in the city and other places to just talk about what the needs are for the district. Those are kind of the big buckets. Do you want to add? There's a lot of business support that's kind of, we'll talk about that, because it ranges from giving them resources and giving them educational opportunities to micro grants and giving them a little bit of funding to do improvements with their storefronts or other. There's a lot of different ways we're trying to do that, more than ever before, truthfully, because they really need it. Yeah. Also, just building camaraderie and helping each other out. That solidarity feeling is a lot of what we do right now too.
Can be really
you're not alone.
Isolating to be an entrepreneur or a business owner when you have other people that are are going through the same thing in the same place. One thing I would probably want either one of you to answer, just for our listeners, is this concept of a downtown is always where a city kind of began, right? Historically. And we have these sprawling suburbs all over the place, but really there's so much that happens downtown. What's the importance to you both of a core downtown area in any city, really, but specifically, let's say Bellingham?
We typically say that downtown is everyone's neighborhood. Like everyone has an attachment to that. And when we have like our board and staff retreats, we'll kind of go around and just kind of talk about what downtown means to them. It's so common that someone just like has a historical tie to it, whether they were a kid and like have memories of different businesses downtown and moved and came back. Compared to other neighborhoods, downtown really is for everybody. And I think that's what really makes it stand apart from other neighborhoods.
I think it's also like there's cultural assets. There's a lot of reasons for people to come downtown. It's the place where a lot of different people intersect. That's probably because it's everybody's neighborhood. It's the community living room in a way.
I like that.
Is the way that I kind of look at it. And so those are what we all experience, but behind all of that is also the tax revenue that is coming forward from those businesses and generated from the businesses go into the community in different ways, right? That happens all the neighborhoods, but it's a pretty significant amount. It may be second to like the box stores out on the guide, but those go to really essential services. They go to programs and projects that everybody enjoys. There's a lot of reasons why it's important, right? Not just the human psychological, like I'm bonding with other humans in my community and supporting local businesses that I want to, but it's also generating those funds that really support in a different way too. So
Tell me a little bit more, for those that don't know much about the Downtown Bellingham Partnership. Maybe they go to Downtown Sounds and that's their insight into it. What do you do what is your role in that downtown core?
We are the main champions, I think. I like that word, of the downtown district. So we are supporting the entire neighborhood, property owners, employees, employers, residents, visitors, community members that come into downtown. My own brain just thinks of like what people see and then maybe the stuff they don't see in the background. And so what you will see, most people like think of Downtown Sounds because it's just like that signature event that's so important. But we do other events throughout the year. We also do a lot of promotions and activities, just drive people downtown, get people into the neighborhood, circulating around, going out to eat or shopping. We also do placemaking activities, place activation activities, which would be activating spaces with art or programs. Our team also does all the landscaping downtown, the hanging baskets, the cleaning of downtown. We also have a graffiti program, so we're removing tags as quickly as they come up, or we're trying to. We have a safety ambassador team. So those are the things you're going to see as you kind of go around downtown. And if you see those things, you're going to think partnership does that.
And do either of you want to sleep at all? You just described a lot of different jobs. Do you sleep? That's my big question.
We sleep, but sometimes we wake up and think about those things.
All the things. Yeah.
I think I get more sleep than this one does.
Yeah.
And then behind the scenes is a lot of business support. And we've really needed that support over the last few years with the pandemic. And there was the initial start where everybody was locked down and people were trying to navigate all the health and safety requirements. All the businesses were trying to do that. And then they now have continuing cost of goods are increasing. Staffing still an issue. We were doing some of that. We were doing, kind of a more
Pre-COVID.
balanced range of things. And then when that happened, we just all were like, I guess we're economic first responders. Okay, let's learn how to do that. And we did. We figured it out and we just kept supporting them. One program that came out of that and other things is our City Block program, which is a lot of business support. So we've divided the downtown into several districts that are led by a staff member and 2 business owners. Each of those districts comes together to solve problems, create new events, just support each other. And so that was really important, just to be like, everybody, we've all been hunkered down, trying to survive. Let's talk to each other. Let's work together to do really positive things and talk about our challenges and work together. And so those are some of the things we're doing right now. And then there's a lot of advocacy work, so those leaders actually in that program can meet regularly with the mayor. And so they can directly talk about what's going on. So he can hear them, which is really important. Do you want to add anything?
Our role is to facilitate, just like with that City Block role, like that, or that program. Like we're like the conduit between city leadership, between businesses, even getting businesses to communicate with one another. Like the Commercial Street Block Party came out of the City Block program. My role was to just connect the businesses on that block who are already really, I think, well connected more than in other areas. But we really do just facilitate conversations, getting people in the right room to create action and implementation. And I really think that's a big part of what we do behind the scenes.
Powerful. Yeah. Roots in Bellingham. Tell me a little bit more. You're both in Bellingham now. You got involved in this program, this very powerful program. It was a part of this really painful, but also really powerful evolution through COVID. Like it was sink or swim, really, for businesses, right? And people a lot of the times during COVID. Tell me a little bit more about how did this program start? And how did you each get involved in this program?
I'm going to defer to her. Yeah. She's been around longer than any staff member.
Well, it started in 2000. Yeah. Well, it was originally, we were called the Downtown Renaissance Network. And the response to that was the mall and a lot of, our bigger department stores and anchor businesses moving out of downtown. So that was kind of the original creation of the organization. I started as an intern my senior year at Western. I was really drawn to the word Renaissance and downtown. And I was like, I can help put on concerts in an alley. This is amazing. That's funny. So I started as an intern, actually, like just focusing strictly on Downtown Sounds event planning. When my internship was up, I was like, I don't want to leave. And so keep me. Yeah. And so then I was just like really part-time. I've been here for 15 years. Today's actually my 15th year.
15! Yay! Yeah. We timed it perfectly.
We did. Yeah. How'd you know? And then we kind of changed, like once we downtown found its groove, found its footing, we kind of we don't need to be called like a Renaissance network. And so that's when we rebranded to Downtown Bellingham Partnership. I think that was in 2009. So yeah, that's kind of how my roots started at this organization. From what we were describing with like those being that facilitator and working with businesses, the relationships that we have are so personal and meaningful, and it's just really hard to leave. So don't go. But yeah, that's kind of how I got my start, and just went from, I was part-time at Bayou on Bay bartending, part-time at the partnership, and then I really just realized I just wanted to be here full-time and really fully dedicate myself to the mission.
It sounds like you were there from very much like ground up point. Did you feel like at that time, was there just not the capacity to bring on enough people? Was it not a big enough network yet? Was it just not developed enough at that time?
We've evolved and really grown as an organization so much, even just in the last, I would say, like 7 or 8 years, probably when Alice joined us. But yeah, we were like very much people who were there were part-time. And at one point it was just our executive director at the time, myself, we were the only paid staff. Otherwise we had interns. So we were like retraining staff every 3 months, every like quarter. It was a lot to manage. So yeah, I would say like now we don't offer any internships. We still get inquiries for that, but we're fully staffed. So yeah, that's been a huge shift, is like just going from 2 staff members and lots of rotating interns to our team now. It was a lot to manage.
Is it like 6 full-time?
6 full-time.
Then we have a couple seasonal landscape
Evolution
too, and a couple other part-time.
And we just, at that time we weren't an established 501c3, so that obviously brings about different funding opportunities. We weren't a Main Street organization yet, so we've really just grown in those ways. That's allowed us to grow our budget, take on more things, grow our staff, and just have a way more consistent, dedicated team that fosters more growth.
On the technical side, for those that are listening, and just the business side, being pre-501c3 and now, what was that like to be a community organization doing these things as a platform for other businesses in a charitable way, like in a way that a nonprofit would do it, but not having the same abilities that you would, post that incorporation?
Trying to remember how we functioned.
Yeah.
I think
it was before my time.
We were like a membership organization at one point, so we had member dues. I think that was helpful. And we had like a membership coordinator specifically, but that got kind of confusing because we have a service area, but some members would be in that area and some non-members. So like if you were a member but you weren't in the flower basket service area, you kind of be like, "Where's my flower basket? I'm paying member dues." And so there's kind of these complications that we just decided every business that's operating downtown, we want them to feel like they're a member of our work. So that's kind of when we got rid of that program, but that's a way we kind of like supplemented some of our costs. And I mean, we couldn't like approach a business for a donation or a sponsorship because without having a tax write-off, right? So it made things a little challenging. We relied a lot more, I would say, on in-kind contributions. We asked for a lot more things for free than we do now. Like Downtown Sounds, we probably asked SSC to donate all the recycle totes that we needed. And granted, that was when Sounds was like much more smaller scale. But I think we just
it is not that now. It is quite large. And it's quite loud.
We created a monster, a beautiful monster. That's kind of how we operated before those different opportunities arose after becoming a 501.
I'm curious, like you talked about the downtown being kind of like the community's neighborhood or the community's living room. Sorry. Tell me a little bit more about, you have all these different areas. You mentioned big box stores in North Bellingham, which is typically where big box stores are a little bit out of town, right? You've got the business district or a business district in Berkeley, like a newer, whatever it is down there. And you've got more like the green area just down South Bellingham. So tell me a little bit more about how those things are all like, they're all important. They all balance each other, but the core downtown is for everybody. You said everyone's neighborhood.
I feel that. It's where everyone can come and kind of intersect and see each other. For me, it's kind of like our particular downtown. Location. It's mind-blowing. I think we all get a little bit jaded and don't really appreciate it. And people come into town and they're like, what?
Yeah.
Like you have these islands out there and then you have this mountain backdrop. I mean, you can within that much time be out on a trail. It's very amazing. And so that location of it combined with, we actually have predominantly locally owned, really authentic businesses. It's not, I think Subway was here for a while and I mean, you know what I mean?
They're not local.
It's like mainly locally run businesses. And they're very passionate and dedicated and they work really well together. They're really supportive of each other, which I think is kind of rare. And so it's also the place that there's a bunch of really great cultural institutions downtown as well. So when you put together the people, those businesses, the location, the cultural assets, something's always going on, something to do, new restaurant to go check out. To me, that's what's really beautiful about our particular downtown. And then, as I had talked about previously, there's also what that downtown brings to the community in different ways. So it brings that connection, that human connection with everybody in the community, but it also generates a pretty good tax base that supports a lot of things that happen in our community, from different services, EMTs, education, programs, projects that serve all of us. So I think people should keep that in mind because it's really important.
And it's changed a lot. I mean, I've only been here 14 years, and when I first got here, it was a $5 pitcher at the Up and Up, and now you can't get a beer for less than $7. But you see this evolution of inflation. People have to charge what they charge, and I totally respect that, and I accept that. That was like the beginning of my context of Bellingham restaurants and businesses. Was like the Up. $5 pitcher and some, Boundary
Casa
Bay, Casa que Pasa,
gigantic burrito.
Yeah, RIP. We miss them. But also, there's been so many new additions that have like added to this melting pot of the culture's just gotten, I think, better and better, more robust. Tell me a little bit more about the combinations of businesses downtown. There's retail, there's restaurant, there's services, there's nonprofits. They all are affected by economic shifts differently, right? Retail's obviously, it's a tough place, tough time to be in retail, but these smaller local businesses, while it may still be tough for them, they're doing better, I think, in this downtown core because of the glue that you all provide, that banding together collaborative mentality. Tell me a little bit more about the evolution. Like, what have you seen happen over the last 10 or 15 years as you've been a part of this community?
Do you want to go and then I'll go?
We have, we have a lot of F&B operators. We have a ton of down bars and restaurants. I mean, I think that's like some of the newer businesses that we've seen have been those businesses. We have a good mix of retail. We need a kids store, I will say. Men's clothing. It's like a whole. But I think like overall we do have a really healthy mix of businesses. Our city block program that Alice referenced, that's where we get to experience a really good like interaction from different industries and hear how different industries are doing. Sometimes like businesses, like a busy bar will be like, we're crushing it, we're slammed, we can't keep up. Whereas some retail might be like, oh, this was like a really slow week, we don't know what's going on. I would say lots of bars and restaurants, retail, and our office space. That landscape is definitely changing coming out of COVID.
That's true.
Really assessing what, like obviously Faith Life was our biggest employer. I had a question about that today, actually, about what's happening with some of those empty spaces. Some are for lease now. So just trying to get a handle on like what's going to become of those spaces. Alice has researched like different trends in different communities, like those changing into different types of retail or ground level mixed use. Yeah, I would say the storefront or the new office space is going to be something to keep an eye on.
There's some main hubs. There's Railroad. Tiffany and I were talking about yesterday was like, it's really cool to see these like not little, but like you see like Grand Ave with all these businesses popping in over there and seeing all these complimentary, like really awesome businesses that are there. Then you see, what is it called? Restaurant Row, where you've got Bayou, you've got all of the Goat Mountain, Black Sheep, Jack's Bar. Just up the street is Jux. You have these like little pockets that are like very complimentary. Like when we go out on date night, we're going to go to Black Sheep, Jack's, and maybe over to Cabin or something. It's like this nice little hub. Have you seen businesses band together on purpose? Is it on location, or is it just like this? It
just seems like it happens organically. Truthfully.
That area that you just described is kind of branded the Arts District. That corner where like it's Bayou and Holly Restaurant Row and Cabin, that's kind of like what we call the gateway to the Arts District. Obviously where Downtown Sounds happens. State Street, I know can sometimes do strip for that before. And of course, railroads. Kind of different pockets. But I think it all just kind of happened organically. Obviously, Restaurant Road, that all came out of COVID, like the streeteries being on that side of the street. But
I love the evolution too of the outdoor seating. I mean, we never thought about it here because we're freezing our ass off half the year, But then there's like we had to, and everyone was. I think you guys were advocating for bring your blanket.
Oh bring your own blanket.
Yeah.
That was our BYOB campaign.
It was awesome. It's there's nothing like being outside. Being inside is great. It's part of the ambiance, but the fresh air is it's very European. Then you go for a walk, a nice stroll to like walk off your meal too. But let's talk briefly about COVID, because a huge evolution in our downtown and challenges, but evolution obviously comes from a struggle a lot.
Yeah.
How did your platform evolve and change? What did you see as the biggest challenge for businesses downtown?
Where do we start?
Which one? Yeah.
We were all just blindsided. So that initial we have to just isolate and there's no activity. That was a really big deal. We rely on eyes on the street and people being on the street. And so that was really hard. And then I think businesses just trying really hard to navigate all of the health and safety requirements. Do I need to build a plastic thing? Do I need to supply hand sanitizer?
What's the new
and
state
we've
mandate?
never been there
Right.
before, right? And
Yeah.
then who's getting sick? If somebody gets sick, then everything has to shut down for a while, right? It was amazingly hard. Luckily, also during that time, we were able to work with other organizations in the state and other resources to get funding. And that's what felt like the most rewarding thing to do at the time would be like, look, there's a grant, apply for it.
Yep.
Look, there's some funding over here.
Yep.
Here's some lifelines, right? Giving them those kind of resources and just as much educational resources as we could, having meetings by Zoom to just talk to each other and figure it out.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Different experts come in there so everybody can learn what to do. I think that period was the most challenging. What's great is that we see that there's slow pulling out of that. What they are saying, businesses, is that the cost of goods are definitely going up. So that's probably why you see those cost increases, is that most of them are really trying to wrangle their costs right now. Do you want to add anything to that? Or
I always say this was like our silver lining with COVID was a lot of our public facing things that we're known for, like downtown sounds and our events, we obviously couldn't do for like 2 or 3 years. So it was kind of a way to show up and do more of like our economic development, economic vitality.
Like reallocation
really
of time and
and just show up for
Yeah.
businesses in the community in a different way. And it was like, even though it was really scary and challenging, it definitely strengthened a lot of our relationships with our stakeholders and our constituents. And to see businesses kind of like come together and really rely on each other. We facilitate a bar and restaurant network. We're still meeting via Zoom, trying to meet in person soon. But we had so many businesses show up. We used to host them every 2 weeks with like 20 to 30 businesses on the call, sharing resources. Like, how are you processing phases? What are you doing for sanitizer? How are you sourcing funds? And we were just, again, that conduit and that facilitation of communications and conversations to help get people what they need while we were figuring it out ourselves, and like we did a virtual art walk in April of 2020, and we were like, people like Rhiannon, for who owns Fringe, was doing, just like Instagram live, but she like had a bunch of sales that night, and just figuring out ways that we could still show up and be the party planner through virtual means. Like we did a virtual downtown sounds, which was interesting. It was, I would say, for how like challenging and kind of like obviously scary everything was, we kind of pivoted really quickly to try to just maintain any like vibrancy that we could. Like,
and alongside of that is the loss of revenue from our events. So as an organization ourselves, we were like financially like, how are we going to do this? And we did get some funding, and we did different kinds of things with unemployment just to kind of weather it all. So that part was kind of hard, where it's like, okay, we're needed more than ever, but we're also like trying to figure out how we're going to financially do this.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So you're dealing with you're dealing with the same, in a sense, the same issues that the people you are supporting and being the platform for.
Yeah.
You're going through the same stuff. So it's almost, it's easy to translate that, because you're like, hey, we're all in this together. Yeah. But my role is still to support you all.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting.
I found myself not doing events really for the most part, and like helping navigate streetery applications, which was like doing on-site visits. And when all the businesses on that 200 block of Holly approached us and they're like, can you help us facilitate closing down Holly Street? That was a crazy project involved with the pandemic. When Holly Street was actually closing that morning, I was like, is this really happening? That had a lot of pros and cons and a lot of strong opinions in both directions.
Business owners, no way.
Yeah. And just even like, community members would be like, why is Holly Street closed? What's happening? But yeah, that was a really
you will love it. It'll be fun.
experience.
Don't worry. And it'll be good for them too.
Yeah. And just kind of seeing how those kinds of projects that came out of it was interesting.
It was interesting too, how like there was relaxation of some of the permitting requirement. You know what I mean? So
wait, that can be done.
So before that'd be like this, and then that happened, and we're like, city's like, just whatever you got to do, let's do it, which was a new thing too.
Yeah.
I kind of see that as a good part of what happened, is that it's okay to experiment, it's okay to try something new. It's not going to be the end of the world. Like we don't have to do it exactly from the book all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't know if we ever would have considered closing that block of Holly Street for Downtown Sounds. But when we were kind of back, I guess it was 2022, we were, so with the parklets being on that left side of the street, our traffic control plan has us close the right lane, turning on into the event. So then we're just picturing all these cars coming down Holly being funneled into one lane only with hundreds of people walking around everywhere. So we were like, let's see if we can close Holly Street. They did it before for the Holly Plaza. We have a traffic control plan. So I made the ask and it worked out. It was mainly to address traffic concerns and just like add, obviously Downtown Sounds is crowded, and with there still being some social distancing and masking requirements, we're like, let's give attendees more space. And now we just have that as a part of Downtown Sounds, is we just close Holly Street now, which is cool. And I don't think we would have really considered that before.
So you got people in all sorts of different areas of their personal beliefs, their political beliefs, all of these things. That sounds like a lot of different opinions and very strong opinions, I'm sure, on either end. What was that like for you both to just keep that the whole thing moving forward without getting and helping them without getting too, sucked into whatever additional drama?
Yeah, I think we really just we're following the governor's guidelines, and that's I think we just referenced that as a way to stay neutral.
Definitely. I do not remember hearing a lot of trouble, a lot of businesses saying, I'm having obstinate people that don't want to follow the rules that I've posted on my door occasionally. But
I recall when, oh man, this feels like a time warp, but when I think the phases got a little more relaxed, and then it felt more on the businesses. I think at one point it was nice for them to have just these are the state rules, you have to wear your mask. And then things got a little more gray area, and it was more on the businesses to decide which direction they wanted to go. That's when they experienced some customers coming in and be like, well, I don't have to, and businesses being like, well, we're also requiring this for the safety of our employees. That's when things got a little dramatic.
That's true.
Got interesting really fast. Okay, thanks for touching on that. That's all we need to talk about it. Fantastic. No more politics.
COVID's over.
COVID's over. Yeah, we're all here in the same room. I would love to talk about some of the programs for business owners, because Downtown Sounds and a lot of these other events are their revenue driving and their way of getting people down, eyes on the street, as you said. But there are some really amazing programs and other, entities downtown that you work with to provide value to businesses. Like businesses were struggling during COVID. You had all this guidance on, hey, this is a good grant that you need to go look into, or here's a great class you should go to, or here's a good person you should talk to. Let's talk about the stuff behind the scenes, the resources that people have.
Yeah.
We partner with the Small Business Development Center. They were really tight partners during COVID as well. Businesses, they needed support to figure out, how am I going to adapt and adjust here? So definitely do a lot of referring to them. The chamber is, county-wide, but they do some really cool networking and other kind of events that business owners really appreciate, I think. So we are part of the Main Street Network, which is a national network that started in the 80s, I believe, around the time of the malls coming into communities. And so it was really a revitalization organization to help communities figure out how to survive all that. There's a program in each state. So we're part of the Washington State program. I think it's 40 communities in that program right now. So we have access to all of their resources and all of their knowledge and all of their expertise. We meet regularly as communities to share resources and learn more.
Different perspectives from other communities that are further down the road with a specific issue or challenge.
We all speak the same language and share all kinds of things. And there's conferences.
It's the Californians, they're coming.
It's funny though, because there's Roslyn. And Everett, right? So there's tiny and big. So actually in that network, the bigger communities like Bellingham and Everett and Olympia and Vancouver, Washington, we're kind of slowly creating our little cohort because we have issues in our downtowns that some smaller communities don't quite have, right? But part of that Main Street program in Washington State is that we have access to a Main Street tax credit program, which allows a business to contribute. They would give a donation to us, And in return, they would get a 75% tax credit on their B&O, state B&O tax.
Brilliant.
The way it works basically is that they make a donation to us, let's just say $1,000 this year. And then when they go to pay their B&O tax next year, they would get that tax credit when they go online to do that. In addition, depending on their circumstances, they could also potentially write the thing off federally, right? So we always think it's like win-win-win, right? Because they are able to support, actually keep their taxes, their B&O taxes right in our community working in Bellingham versus being sent to Olympia. You don't know where they're going to be spent, right? Like it's kind of that knowledge, like I'm really going to keep that money here. It's a great program, and we are able to raise through that program $213,000.
Wow.
And we're 30,000 away from that right now for this year. So we're kind of closing the gap. So that's a really big deal.
It's time, guys.
Yeah.
Let's close that
really
gap.
It's a really big deal.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting.
So we're like, wow, what other projects and programs and things can we do if we meet that? So it's good for businesses. It's good for us. It's good for everybody. So that's a great program. And then I'll let Lindsey talk about a couple other opportunities for funding.
We definitely have, obviously, sponsorship is huge. WeQ has been our premier sponsor for Downtown Sounds for several years. And we also work with different organizations to be able to provide micro grants. 2 of those are our seasonal activation grants and then our storefront improvement grant. The storefront improvement grant we've been doing since like 2015, 2016.
Something like that.
Yeah. It's a matching grant, but we used to be able to award funds to one business per year. And now with some increased funding from BQ, we're awarding 3. So it's a grant cycle that's May through September. But the goal is for quick, inexpensive improvement. So like exterior paint, window decals, planters, some lighting. So we've, over the years, we had makeshift, we've done Stockton's paint, we've done Wild Buffalo, we've done Refinery. And they're like, if you've seen the Wild Buffalo lately, just like, I don't think they've had an exterior facelift in like maybe decades.
Yeah, it's
and
part
now
of the allure.
Yeah, it's really fresh, and they have the "I Love You More" mural that was a part of it on the side. So it's just a way to enhance business storefronts, and then also enhancing the entire block. So really proud of that program. And then the seasonal activation grant was something that we did during COVID. It was to help activate sidewalks, storefronts with live music or demos. I know Cuba Crazy Socks did a really cool like tie-dye thing with theirs, and Veritas Media did a like disco like rollerblading thing in the commercial plaza.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. So just really unique ways to bring people downtown and create that vibrancy. We are hoping to continue those programs this year.
Yeah, those were like people were not feeling 100% comfortable with going inside places. So we're like, okay, how do we do something where it's outside, like come down and explore anyway?
Yeah.
There may be a store that you do feel okay about going in, just kind of like just getting people downtown.
Yep. I'm going to say a 4-letter word on camera here. M-A-L-L. Mall. So mall is, sorry, I was just making sure that I didn't sound stupid there. And it was actually 4 letters. It's a part of a community, but it's also this like completely different world. You had referenced when malls started coming into towns, like coming into town, you can get everything there from your Jamba Juice to your whatever else you need and never leave. Maybe just like sleep there, whatever. You don't ever need. I, as a kid, would go downtown. This is Seattle, but also would go to the mall. I was just a mall rat, just at the mall. But now we're seeing this interesting, especially in smaller communities, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I just noticed that the mall just had this huge change. Yeah. And downtown Bellingham is still there and it's still functioning. How do you see this like ebb and flow? Like you saw the mall come into town and you're like, what's this going to do for local businesses? And then you saw it coexist. And then you saw, times change. Tell me a little bit more about that, like that timeline, that progression of like this 4-letter word coming into town.
It's interesting because it's gone through its own evolution, right? Like it opened and it was really exciting and everybody's going and all the stores are there. And then in the last few years when I'm gone, I'm like, where is everybody? Yeah. It really feels different. So I think that malls themselves are trying to figure out their own evolution.
Who are we? Yeah.
How are we going to recreate ourselves? And so I understand like the library will have a temporary place there. And I think there's new ownership there. I don't think that we feel super threatened by the mall. I think what we would like is for more people who live north and into Canada would come downtown versus like, oh, let's just go to the mall or let's just go to Costco. So that's kind of our challenge is like, no, that's like, but they're just shopping. There's like, go in there. And
if you want a Hot Topic in Cinnabon, you can go there. Great. And get your cinnamon roll. But
exactly. And I'm not sure what's going to happen in the future. I think there are kind of different ideas being tossed around about could it be potential more services for people? Could it be potentially housing? Like, I don't know.
Lots of ideas.
I'm glad I'm not in that business.
Yeah. You're in the right business.
Yeah. I think the mall I think competes more with online shopping and like Amazon than our independently owned businesses, right? It's that's like if people, and obviously that trend grew during COVID, but it's like for things that you could just get at Target, which you can like just get online,
a good point.
Versus like, you know, finding something unique, locally made earrings. And like, it's like coming downtown is way more experiential. Like you're down there for a destination, not necessarily convenience sometimes. But yeah, I think that's been a huge shift with the mall, kind of having that shift in not their decrease, but like not being as busy. I just think those trends are a part of it.
Yeah, and as you said, I mean, we are a community that really wants to support local. That's a great thing. And they want that experience of like, I know the person that owns that shop, and I know the person that owns that restaurant, and I want to go down and support
it's personal
them.
Relationships are important. It's
very community.
So let's flip to online because local business, big box retailer, and then the meta universe of Amazon. Okay, whatever. Great. But like we've been in this progression, like there is always a draw to go downtown. We love going downtown. But then there's times that we don't want to go downtown and we don't want to go anywhere and we want to just be on our couch and be big old couch potatoes and order like, I'm going to order this online. How has that been for like the adaptation and the evolution for downtown businesses? Because everything is going online still. And a big part of downtown businesses is that it's like going there, getting eyes on the street, having these events, doing those things. Let's go kind of back to COVID when there was this, can't really do that. There's all these restrictions on what you can do. Tell me a little bit more. Like, did you see some big challenges with local and small businesses trying to find their way onto online?
I think a lot of retailers definitely added online store. Like I know Brazen added an online store. I can't remember if Fringe already had one in place. And whether or not they've maintained them, I'm not quite sure. I think Fringe has. But Brazen and Seifert and Jones utilized their alley for alley pickup.
That's
awesome. I know Greenhouse and
Yeah.
Ideal did a lot of like home deliveries. Wink Wink certainly did a lot of home deliveries. Yeah, I think between online stores, like that was interesting during Shop Small Saturday, I think in 2020, instead of promoting like deals and offerings that we normally would, we were promoting how consumers could access these businesses. So through private shopping appointments, if you weren't comfortable being around a lot of people, building online stores, utilizing curbside pickup, all those things. It was really fascinating.
I think trends that are coming that I hear about in the Main Street circles and other is that people will have some success when they are able to marry both. And in particular, small manufacturing, mod sock.
Keep It Crazy Socks.
Keep It Crazy Socks.
Yeah.
Is kind of like a really pretty good example of that. Breweries do it in a really big way, but behind the scenes, they're like doing the socks, mailing out the socks, and then they have their storefront presence, right? So that's one thing that people are talking about happening with downtowns, and also more shared spaces. So let's 4 retailers get a space, work together, and you can see that some places already where it's like, I'm a barber, but we got a beer guy, and you can get a cup of coffee.
Sounds like a great time. Sounds like a great day.
And you know what I mean? Like, how do we share the costs of this?
With those office spaces that are empty, it's kind of like seeing those kinds of collaboration go into spaces like that, especially at their street level.
Yeah, street level. But that's a big deal. That's a big thing that we are all trying to figure out is how to replace the office workers.
We're talking, a lot of those buildings have like retail on the bottom, and then they have office up or living up. Is there a lot of that that's still empty, or is it starting to fill up?
I mean, office space is 36% of what it was.
Wow.
Supposedly people are coming back to the office, but they're coming back in different ways. So what we heard from property owners is that the smaller spaces, like I just am a person, I'm tired of working at home and I got to have an office. I got something I got to do. Or 2 people or whatever.
Like an executive office suite.
Yeah.
You know, but like the
setup.
big, like I have a big business now and I'm going to have all my employees come to this big office. So those are the spaces that are really having a hard time being filled. People in the industry of where we are talking about, like, do we convert those to housing? Well, then what buildings are actually going to be easier and more affordable to do that with? There's a whole bunch of stuff you could Google about that.
Yeah.
Then you throw a 6-letter word in there, which is parking. Parking's always the
and then like do we
7? Yeah. Hey, it was a good shot in the dark. Tried parking.
Are there ways
1
that
for 2.
we can incentivize? So how does a city potentially or a county help subsidize office space with, you know, the property owner for at least some period of time? So it's like a nonprofit, you know, just like, can we populate the buildings?
Yes. Yeah.
Is the main thing. How do we populate the buildings so that they're not empty, for one thing, so they're not making any money off of it and probably losing money. And then there's those people back out on the street. So that's what we've seen is like downtown during the day. Sometimes it's just like super quiet compared to it used to be. It used to be people will go and breakfast meeting and lunch meeting and I'll meet you for coffee and we'll talk over here. And so all those people are circulating. We have to figure out how to get those people back.
There's like some main larger, you know, buildings that like there was the one that's down across from Time and Materials and where Other Side Bagels, Bailey's in the spot, Bailey. It's really interesting because I didn't really think too much about the fact there's these little spots of like apartments and condos, these little patches throughout downtown, but there's nothing major. There's not one big apartment building or. What about something like the Nimbus? I mean, not the Nimbus. What's the big building that the Nimbus used to be in?
The Towers.
Bellingham Towers, a better name for it. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I'm not sure what their vacancy rate is right now. I think that they've got a lot of those smaller spaces, so they're probably doing okay. But man, I really miss Nimbus.
Yeah, I've never been. My wife said she went to
amazing.
prom
Such
at Nimbus
a
and she
great
talked
view.
all about it.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I was here late.
It's just like one of those places you can just have a nice drink and look out over the whole islands, and it's great.
Bring it back.
I know.
Bring the Nimbus
It's
back.
up there waiting for someone.
Besides the use of the office space, bringing more, you know, living downtown, what are some of the biggest challenges that you're seeing today? You know, set aside COVID, never happened, completely gone.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Yeah, what are you talking about? What are you seeing as the biggest challenges that people need to know about that are in Bellingham that support local businesses or local business owners or are going to become local business owners? Good luck. Yeah. What are some of the things you see in the future as our biggest issues to tackle?
So many cities around the country are dealing with the fentanyl crisis that's happening. We're one of them. We're having our own struggles with that. Some state laws changed within the last 2 or 3 years that have really impacted that. I'm not sure how that's going to be resolved, truthfully. The mayor is working on it, but it's a big, complicated issue. Super complicated. So for me, that is, if we can get a handle on that, then it allows the business owner to stop paying attention to that daily, which they do, and really focus more of their energy on their business, which is what they should be doing and what we would like them to do.
Yeah.
So once that starts happening, then they start to feel that further relief.
It's like this bandwidth in the back of their brain that's
Exactly.
constantly thinking about something that doesn't propel their business forward.
Exactly. And it's super hard because it could be that someone who has, you know, grown up in a bigger city and is familiar with city life, maybe like this happens in cities, right?
Yeah.
And then other people are like, I just can't.
Yeah.
I can't see it. I can't deal with it. And the poor business owner is like trying desperately to navigate their own business. So that's a lot what we are doing right now is that I think there's a lot of counseling in what we're doing right now. We're doing a lot of listening, active listening, and then we're going and doing a lot of advocacy work and talking about what we're hearing. And then we convert to very happy people and do events. You know, it's very emotionally, it's emotional work right now for us. It's like That's hard. And you have your own stuff and your own life, right? So you're like hearing someone going to talk to the mayor and you're like, okay, let's put on a party. It's hard. I just, right before the pandemic, we were on this trajectory where you could just see like we were growing. Things were really rocking. People were coming into downtown and opening businesses. And I was like, oh my God, this is like the tip. This is the point where it's just going to. And so now we're like, okay, we're kind of, we're really doing pretty well, actually. We're recovering from the pandemic. But then we have this other thing that is really complicated. So for me, that is going to be a challenge. And also, we're growing as a city. When I moved here in 1980, I think it was like 40,000 people, 38,000 people. So more than doubled. So then you have those stressors of just more folks. You're going to need more housing. You're going to need more services. So all these things are needed, and we're trying to catch up, right? We're trying to
it's happening. It was like slow, and then it happened really quickly.
Yeah.
It started booming. Yeah.
And so it's like we're under this stress. So we're aware of the things and we're working on the things, but still it's going to take time. I remain incredibly hopeful about downtown, though. I think that I probably wouldn't if I didn't know all the business owners and just know how passionate and dedicated and committed they are. We put out a survey recently, and that's what you really pick up on is that, this is really hard, but I'm in it.
Yep.
And so that feels really good to me. And I think that we kind of go through, the seasons too. So the winter's like,
Yeah.
And then it starts to warm up. Like we're going to have a downtown neighborhood meeting on 420 in Boundary Bay, where we're going to be talking about a
little bit longer than normal, go slower than normal.
Where we're going to be like bringing all the producers of all the various events that kind of happen from spring to fall. And so they'll each have a few minutes to kind of talk about their event and when it's happening and how you can attend. And if you want to volunteer to help them, we put up the hanging baskets. It's kind of like this time of year, we're like, okay. And then more people come down. They just naturally come down.
Where have you all been?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the tourists come in, and then like graduations happen. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's always kind of like this, like if we can just get to April.
I think a lot of businesses, a lot of different platforms and businesses and organizations have the same feeling. I know we feel it in our business as well. It's like, we like this slow. And then we're like, okay, it's been slow for too long. All right. And then it explodes. And we're like, I wish it wasn't so fast.
Yeah. And then you have eyes on the street. It just changes. Absolutely. There's a shift that happens because you're like, people are on the street and other people see all the other people, and it just has a different vibe.
Yep.
Right.
Crowd attracts a crowd.
Yeah. So we need perpetual spring.
Perpetual
spring. Where do you see the most opportunity for growth downtown? I mean, there's all these little pockets that have, like, I use Grand Ave as a pretty good example, where I think Astoria, and then it kind of just like Bar Cicotti, and then and it sounds like Red Light might be moving.
Red Light is moving into the 1,000
acre.
Yeah,
then there's
cool right
the
now.
Turkish coffee shop, which I've heard is amazing. I have not been. Clap me in irons, but I will be going. But I've heard it's amazing. But then now all of a sudden, this place in college, and then now Bakery's right on the corner. That part of town when I was in college there wasn't really anything over there. The Grand was over there. We go get beers at the Grand, but it was kind of isolated.
Yeah.
Are there other areas that you're seeing kind of open up as potential pockets for these little like hubs of businesses?
I mean, State Street has certainly been growing, and just like that vibrancy extending all the way down to the roundabout. That's new.
Yeah, it's a long stretch. So we're kind of trying to get those folks to work together to do some projects and stuff.
Would you call it the hip strip?
I don't know if we call it that.
We don't call it. Sorry.
No.
Somebody did.
Someone called
anonymous person called it that.
The hipster, which I think is kind of catchy.
Yeah.
But we just did a first like Spring on State event there a couple of Saturdays ago. It was the same day as opening the farmers market, but it was an egg hunt, family friendly egg hunt, and then we did that in partnership with Time and Materials in their courtyard, and had like a bunch of family friendly activities. That was the first time we did something kind of really intentional just for State Street, and I think we'll probably make that a new tradition for downtown. It was really sweet. Definitely learned some lessons. We need some people power to replenish the eggs. That part was stressful.
Replenish eggs, huh?
I was like, oh my goodness. But I would say because of the recent energy happening from Shake and Shine all the way down to Flat Stick is awesome, and we do a lot in the Arts District in that area that we referenced earlier, right? Like downtown sounds. A lot of our retailers are all in that hub. So it's where a lot of our Wine Walk energy focuses. So it felt pretty good to do something just along State Street because of the recent growth that's just kind of developed there. Other pockets, I would say, Bellingham Cider Company being on that end kind of brings.
I love that spot.
Yeah.
And then also now Structures with their burgers, right? It's like, it took me home to, I told them like Dick's Burgers, but way higher quality.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah, it's like driving one hand.
Where are they?
In the old Chuckanut Brewery. Yeah, so they're right there.
Opened already.
Yeah, I went with a friend and I got one and I was like, well, this is taking me back to a moment where I just ordered another one. So I just got another one. I was like,
that's good.
I'll probably do 3.
And obviously the granary and the waterfront and such, like we want to be brought into the fold of that because like promoting the walkability, like you can be at Bayou and be at Trackside, and like we want to make sure those neighborhoods feel like there's crossover there. Physically, promotionally. Yeah, so that's probably just obviously another area that's going to be growing, right?
Yes.
So just wanting to be involved in that process.
We don't have to get too far down this road either, but like maybe just a surface level, what is happening with the waterfront? I mean, so there's Trackside was such an amazing addition. We go the summer. We actually wouldn't mind going there in the winter. We're not really like that turned off by bad weather. But it was an amazing, more of a temporary like grant, right, for the track and the pump track, and for that while they're developing that. What do you see is happening? What's going on down there for people that are listening?
Well, I think the condos are slowly getting built. Very slow.
Very slow.
And then I believe there's going to be a hotel conference center in the board mill building that has those murals on the top of it. That's going to probably be the next big thing that happens. I do believe they're going to keep that whole Trackside area for a while, and then people will cry and protest.
It is a very cool scene down there. I mean, obviously during the COVID years, it gave people a really big outdoor space to hang out in. And it is a pretty cool, unique scene. Yeah. Yeah,
and I think like the other thing that's happening is, I think it's called the Millworks project. Have you heard about that?
Heard of it. Don't know much about it.
Yeah, so that's on the other side of the tracks, but it's still down there. And that will be a combination of a food campus where they'll have commercial kitchens and other things, and then some really affordable housing. And I think they're just starting to break ground. So that's a really cool community. And it's great because, I'll be honest, is it some of the development that was happening before, or proposed development from Harcourt, it just didn't feel like us. It just, I don't know. It's
a new addition to Bellingham, but it doesn't have any, like, even with the newer stuff that gets developed, at least attempting to have some roots in Bellingham.
That's right.
It can be new and not be an old brick building.
Reflective of our community, right?
But reflect,
It's a weird blessing in a way that relationship changed because it gave the community the opportunity to really see what else we could do. Like the board mill building that I'm talking about for the hotel and conferences is led by local people. One of them was on our board, and then the Millworks and just the container people, the container village down there and all those. It's organically happening.
Like Bellingham does.
So much more reflective of who we are.
Keeping Bellingham growing and keeping up with the times in certain areas, but also staying funky. It's like got this cool, grounded funkiness to it that we all love.
Yeah. Well, before like the pandemic, like I said, we were taking off, and that's what we were kind of conversations we're talking about. Like, how are we going to retain our soul and our authenticity if we're going to grow this fast and change? Like, that was really the challenge that we were talking about. So I think we're doing it. Yeah.
Have you felt like a lot of people, especially with, you've got this entity Harcourt that's come in and is doing something that's intentionally is good. It's growing that area, but in a way that is not, at the time, not us as Bellingham. Do you feel like there was a good banding together of the minds of Bellingham and the leaders of Bellingham to say, hey, we like it, let's steer that ship a little bit more this way?
I think so, but it was mainly the port. Right? A lot of it was the port staff and the port commissioners who made a lot of those decisions, and we're just like, had to do the hard work of like, maybe we got a semi breakup with Harcourt. Right?
Just friends with benefits. Semi breakup.
And then I think it was Rob Fix, actually, the director, who was really into mountain biking, and let's do this for a while. See what that looks like.
Creative. I like it.
So I have to give that credit to them for sure.
So let's talk briefly about the insider cards, because at the end of each episode, I like to get involved in business or the platform.
Yeah.
There's probably 3 people that are going to be listening to this show and are going to message me immediately for this. But I'm going to do 5 insider cards for people that listen to the show.
Cool.
Again, I know that like the first 3 people that are going to message me are
Shout out Samir.
Shout out Samir, Brendan, and Eric. Those are the 3 people that I found out like really engage.
Love it.
And then I might buy one for my mom. No, I'm just kidding. But,
It's Mother's Day soon.
it is.
Yeah, there you
Gotta
go.
take care of those moms.
Gives year round.
For those that are listening and for those that are going to go buy one because they want to get more involved in Downtown Bellingham, what is an insider card? What does it do for you? How does it get you involved?
It's a tiered program. So we refer to insiders as our downtown loyalty program. So it's not necessarily a fee. You more sign up. The minimum level is $5.
Yep.
And for $5, it's a donation every month. But that's when you get those business offerings. So I believe Black Sheep right now is free guac when you guacamole when you show your insider card.
Wow.
I know Fringe does 20% off one item. I believe Third Planet is 20% off one item. Probably limited to like 1 per day. But like during Christmas, like I went shopping at both those places, and every time I got my. But yeah, they're so for the $5 level, you get those business offerings, and I believe we have up to 30 businesses, if not more. And all those deals are listed on our website. And it is a range from food and beverage to retail to, I think, services. I want to say Upfront Theaters maybe on there. I think a yoga studio's on there. You can find out at downtownbellingham.com. But yeah, you go and you choose, you can do a 5, a 10, or 25 plus. So, and then each tier comes with an increase in perks. Being the 25 one, you get, automatically upgraded to our VIP experience at Wine Walk. We have a VIP in our beer garden, so you automatically get to go in there.
Right this way, ma'am. Or
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah.
This
That's actually,
way.
guess what? You get a chair.
You get a chair and you get snacks.
We'll actually go get your beer for you.
Wow.
Massages, no,
You
but
can avoid.
I was thinking
Yeah.
that's the next step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you sign up, we'll be promoting this once we start announcing Downtown Sounds details. But it's a skip the line promotion. So if you sign up to be an insider right then and there, you can show your card and you don't have to wait in line. You can just beeline through.
Lines and traffic stuff.
Yeah. But so it is. There's card holders. There's businesses doing offerings, and for only $5, you get to just flash your card and any of the participating businesses to get that deal. Pretty cool program. And then obviously the money goes to supporting our work.
And we appreciate your work as a Bellingham business and individuals that go downtown as much as we can and love where we live and love the culture, the soul of Bellingham.
yeah.
We appreciate that your goal is to keep it, to grow. We have to, but also to keep that soul, because that's why I stayed here 14 years ago, never left. For those that are listening, again, I'll be doing the first 5 people that reach out. So we've already probably named the first 3, but the first 5 will get an insider card, and I'll explain more in the details. And then to find, you said Downtown Bellingham Partner, downtownbellingham.com.
Yep.
You can find out all about the programs. Social media, great place. I follow you guys. Love all the videos, the content. Is there any other good places to follow you besides social media, Instagram?
We
the
just started a
website?
TikTok account.
Oh,
which
snap.
is really fun.
So are you doing
shout
dances?
out.
Yeah. Doing some
I
dabbing?
personally am not doing any dances.
Yeah.
Our events and promotions coordinator, Natalie, manages all of
She's
that.
great.
And so she's fantastic. DowntownBellingham.com is a great way to just find out more about our organization. And then there is an opportunity to sign up for our general newsletter. So social media, our website, but Jenny, who is our marketing communications manager, does a really fantastic job of just issuing authentic newsletters. They're not dry. They're actually very engaging and super informative. So we have a business newsletter that has really specific content. We also have a general newsletter, and that's just where you can get caught up to speed on all the announcements, all the happenings, opportunities. But that's just another avenue to stay in touch with what we're doing.
I love it. You both are amazing, and your team is amazing, and we appreciate the collaboration that we've done. And we're at the Building Bellingham team, the Live Bellingham team. We're we're here, and we're excited for what you're doing, and we're always here to help and support what you guys are doing.
Thank you. And we appreciate being on your show and just having these really cool, unique programs in your podcast. It's cool.
I couldn't think of any better way to cap off an already fantastic season with you both. So thanks for joining us on the season finale with only one beat from a construction crane.
Yay! Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Building Bellingham is a community podcast exploring leadership, challenges, failure, and mindset with entrepreneurs right here in Whatcom County, Washington. You can be the first to hear about upcoming guests by subscribing to the Building Bellingham Facebook or Instagram pages, as well as the Building Bellingham YouTube channel. This episode was produced and edited by Tiffany Holden. Our videography is done by Cooper Hansley. Community projects are by Taylor Beal. To learn more about the team behind the podcast and to download our media kit, check out our website at www.livebellinghamnow.com or search Cohen Group NW on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or LinkedIn. From the whole Building Bellingham podcast team, thank you for listening.